In 2010, Gordon Ramsay traveled to the north end of Boston, Massachusetts to explore one of the area's 150 Italian restaurants. Davide opened in 1982 and was the first place in Little Italy to offer fine dining cuisine, and it soon became the hottest ticket in town. Customers regularly lined out the door to secure a table on busy weekend nights. In 1997, at the height of its popularity, the maître d' Frank Gesualdi and his brother Anthony fulfilled a dream by purchasing the restaurant together. After a positive start, with Frank acting as head chef and Anthony handling the front-of-house operations, Frank made a heartbreaking discovery. His brother had a serious substance abuse problem, which he was funding by stealing from the restaurant's takings.
Frank found out that Anthony was embezzling money.
The following years saw Anthony in and out of jail and rehab to overcome his dependency on painkillers and heroin, with Frank left to pick up the pieces and run the family business solo.
When Anthony left, Frank gave up.
Slowly, Frank lost faith in the venture, and his feelings of dependency led to a change in fortune for the restaurant. A beaten Frank left the restaurant decor and menu unchanged for 13 years, and the once fully occupied dining room slowly emptied out.
I moved on and Frankie stayed right in 1997.
If the family conflict can't be resolved, the cost of closing the doors on the business is cited at $1 million, leaving the family desperate to turn the restaurant around. On his way to Davide, Gordon hops on one of Boston's trolleys and asks the driver about the restaurant's reputation. Despite driving past Davide 4 times a day, the driver doesn't know anyone who's ever been there. Not a good start. Gordon is greeted by Anthony and looks around the restaurant, which he describes as quaint. He starts by calling a staff meeting, where he meets Frank and both of the brothers' wives, along with their mother, who financially backed their purchase of the restaurant. The division between the two couples is clear. The bickering brothers each blame the other for the downturn. Anthony feels proud of turning his life around and disappointed in Frank for abandoning the restaurant, while Frank is seemingly unable to move past the anger and resentment he feels for Anthony ruining the business, and failing to apologize for his destructive behavior.
Anthony, you've ruined the business.
And I don't respect him because I think he laid down and fucking died.
When Gordon sits down to try the food, he is told by waiter Andrew that there isn't a bad thing on the menu and that all the pasta is homemade. The chef is excited to sample it. Gordon begins with a Caesar salad, which is made from scratch, tableside. He waits for 8 long minutes while the salad is being prepared with a lot of enthusiasm by Andrew. When it's finally ready, the salad is wet and tasteless since all the dressing has run off of the recently washed lettuce leaves. A dejected Andrew takes it away. The next dish, an eggplant, is spongy and soggy, leading Gordon to ask whether it has been frozen. Andrew confidently assures him that it was freshly made that morning. Upon checking with the kitchen, Frank reveals that the dish was actually prepared 3 weeks in advance and frozen, because it's impossible to make eggplant fresh to order. Anthony thinks his brother is just lazy.
3 weeks ago.
Yep. That's disgusting.
The lobster ravioli doesn't fare much better. Gordon describes it as goo, and it's clear that the pasta is not handmade. This is a tough realization for Andrew, who feels betrayed when the head chef confirms that it is, in fact, store-bought. All hopes rest on the rack of lamb, but a burnt, bitter garlic crust leaves Gordon wiping his mouth in disgust. Time to confront the head chef directly. Gordon berates Frank for his embarrassing effort and his dishonesty about the pasta.
If you can't even be bothered to cook fresh food, what do you want me to do? Wave a magic wand and turn this place around? Come on!
A frustrated Frank admits he's not even sure he wants to learn from Gordon. Yet, the show must go on, and it's soon time for dinner service. While inspecting the kitchen, Gordon is bemused by Frank's seat of depression, a stool in the corner which the head chef uses to take regular breaks. There is no time to sit down during tonight's service, though, because with Gordon in town, diners quickly fill every seat, and it's not long before the kitchen is backed up with orders. Frank is quickly stressed out by the speed of orders coming in, and he willingly sends out food he knows will come back, rather than making customers wait. Gordon is concerned that this is evidence that the chef is burnt out and no longer cares. As predicted, dry, lukewarm, and overcooked dishes flood back into the kitchen. Rather than putting up a fight, Frank abandons his post halfway through service, admitting he no longer has any passion and doesn't know what to do anymore. Describing him as a ticking time bomb, Gordon appeals to Anthony and Frank's tearful wife, Kim, to provide the emotional support he desperately needs. The next morning, Anthony reads a heartfelt letter to a visibly emotional Frank.
Frank, I think you have been so overwhelmed for so long and for good reason. I know how much damage I've done.
Frank admits that it is the first time he has heard real remorse from Anthony, though he still seems reluctant to forgive him completely. Wife Kim then tells Frank she hates how his attitude has changed, and tells him to put on his chef's jacket that hasn't been worn for 4 years. He admits that he feels he doesn't deserve it. At least, not yet. Gordon then asks Frank to show him passion on a plate instead of anger. When Frank cooks him an original dish of pan-seared lemon chicken, Gordon is impressed, and Frank seems encouraged. A revamp of the restaurant is phase 2 of lifting Frank's spirits. The dated and uninspiring chairs are replaced with solid mahogany furniture. Dreary white walls are replaced with stone, and the modern textured wall coverings are enhanced with contemporary lighting and bespoke sconces to bring a fresh, modern vibe to Davide. The whole team feels more hopeful, and Frank is even inspired enough to don his chef's jacket to command the kitchen for relaunch night. Next, Gordon reveals a mouth-watering new menu to complement the new decor. Bruschetta, burrata, homemade gnocchi, pork tenderloin, and the lemon chicken that Frank had previously made for Gordon comprised the kick-ass menu. Before service begins, Gordon pulls Frank aside to share some insights from his own life. Revealing that he is also the brother of an addict, Gordon empathizes with Frank's difficulty moving on, but encourages him to positively support his brother's recovery, something Gordon doesn't currently have the opportunity to do.
It's not bad. I wish my brother was clean. I wish he had kicked his habit.
With writers from the Boston Magazine in town to review the new look Davide, this is the restaurant's chance to put itself back on the map. While customers in the buzzing dining room enjoy the new dishes, tension begins to build between the brothers as orders go out slower than expected. When some undercooked pork is sent to the critics' table, Frank's confidence is shaken, but he bounces back admirably, supported by his brother. The relaunch is a success, and dinner service ends on a high. Gordon exits the emotional episode proud of the progress at Davide, and with the relationship between the two brothers finally on the mend. He was impressed at Frank's passion and handling of the pressure, and an overwhelmed Frank cranks a genuine smile for the first time. In the weeks that followed, we find out that Frank's passion flourished, and Anthony showed great commitment to the restaurant and a newfound respect for his brother. In an interview with the Boston Globe a week before the episode aired, Frank and Anthony described the experience along with their backstory. The brothers seem to view their interactions with Gordon in mainly positive terms. Anthony's sobriety means that he now loves being in the restaurant, and Frank was pleasantly surprised that Chef Ramsay's yelling was no worse than the way he yelled at himself. He was also impressed by how well Ramsay could walk into a new situation and read their characters. When asked about the changes at the restaurant, Frank says the new menu is lighter with better ingredients. He also mentions that he has his own farm where he produces vegetables, chickens, and quail eggs. The only one of Ramsay's changes they didn't like was his new pizza recipe. "His pizza sucks. We threw it out," were Frank's words. The day the episode was set to air, Frank said in a statement to Grubhub, "It could be good for business, or we could close. Either way, I'd do it all over again." The Davide episode aired February 25th, 2011. It was the 6th episode of the 4th season of Kitchen Nightmares. Post Kitchen Nightmares, viewers showed a great deal of sympathy for both brothers. The episode has a solid 7 out of 10 rating on imdb.com, with many commenting on a strong personal connection to the episode regarding Anthony's struggle with painkillers. Some viewers felt that Frank received the raw end of the deal and were sorry that he had to shoulder the whole business on his own. Anthony was commended for turning his life around and for being genuine in his efforts to put things right. The emotional depth of the episode also struck a chord with people who identified similar problems within their own families. As a result, viewers felt that the episode was much more heartfelt. It wasn't just the brothers who received praise and a bit of sympathy. Kim, Frank's wife, stood out amongst viewers who could really see how much she loves and cares about her husband. Andrew, the young waiter, also received a fair amount of acclaim and some sympathy from viewers too. Most felt bad for Andrew, as he had been incorrectly told that the food was fresh when it wasn't. Many agreed that he was doing his best, given the difficult circumstances. And unusually, there was also plenty of sympathy for Gordon Ramsay himself. After opening up about his own brother's drug addiction, viewers wanted to know more about the celebrity chef and his troubled sibling. At the time this episode was filmed, Gordon's brother Ronnie had just completed 10 months in jail in Bali for possession of heroin, a sentence reduced down from 10 years. He returned to the UK but lost contact with both his mother and famous brother. Gordon had previously paid for Ronnie's rehab 5 times, but appears to have stepped away when his family was threatened. We're sure that his own brother was in his thoughts when filming at Davide, and that he was genuinely hoping that Anthony would still be sober when he returned to the restaurant to check on the brothers' progress. When Gordon revisited Davide in 2011, he was hoping to see that the brothers had upheld standards. First impressions seemed positive. What was once like walking into a war zone had been replaced with a buzz and a nice, friendly atmosphere. Although there was one other question that Gordon couldn't wait to ask.
Please tell me one thing. Has Frank kept his butt off that chair?
To Gordon's dismay, Frank's seed of depression was still there, with the head chef claiming he still needed to take a break once in a while. Gordon was willing to let this slide if the food was great. Thankfully, the entrees he received this time were in a different league compared to his first visit, describing them as delicious. What's more, business was up by 10 to 15%, while, as Gordon pointed out, other Boston restaurants weren't surviving the recession. As for brotherly love on a scale of 1 to 10,
We're at a 7. We'll give a 7.
Go on, where are we?
On a good day.
On a good day.
On a good day, a 7.
I was 7 on a good day.
7 on a real good day.
Frank's wife, Kim, was delighted that the chef had rediscovered his passion and that she had her man back. When other diners were asked how the food was, they all agreed it was excellent. Gordon had one final surprise in store for Davide, briefly interrupting the lunch service to introduce Sean Thornton from the Boston Bruins. The 2011 Stanley Cup champion presented the staff with a signed jersey to display on the restaurant wall, and happily posed for photos with the family. Frank showed his obvious admiration for the player, saying it felt good to see somebody like that, a fighter who always bounces back when he's knocked down, in his restaurant. And Anthony was just happy to be clean, sober, and sharing the special moment with loved ones. Ramsay not only made a big impact with the Boston Bruins, but also charmed the locals of the North End who were thrilled to meet the celebrated TV chef. Always gracious, Ramsay happily took the time to pose for numerous photos with his enthusiastic fans. Despite receiving the Gordon Ramsay seal of approval, reviews of Davide were mixed in the years that followed. Some patrons enjoyed the food, the atmosphere, and complimentary drinks. It seems that once the episode had aired, the restaurant offered Groupon deals which seemed to draw hesitant customers in to try the new food. It seems that Frank and Anthony were also doing a great job of welcoming new diners through the door. However, others complained that the exciting new menu was not enough to make up for rude staff, poorly cooked food, and a lack of drink refills. And some who had been lured in with a generous Groupon discount weren't planning to return when the dishes were full price. Portion sizes were also criticized, along with mushy pasta dishes. Hopefully they were at least homemade. In November 2013, Anthony posted on the Davide Twitter page that the restaurant had been sold. Like anything else, life goes on, he writes. It is time to venture out to new and exciting opportunities. In January 2014, the new owners were still undisclosed, and the restaurant was now open on weekends only. In May 2014, the Gesualdi brothers, who were seemingly still on good terms, closed the restaurant for good. After more than 3 years of trying to make it work, they never quite managed to turn things around. The former Davide establishment at 326 Commercial Street was purchased by restaurateur Donatello Frateroli, who planned to keep the restaurant Italian-themed. Then, from 2016, the space was occupied by a stylish seafood restaurant called Il Molo, which offered delicious dishes plucked fresh from local water. Nothing frozen and reheated here. However, it seems that Il Molo closed a couple of years later. Further changes appear to be coming to the restaurant, with a new dining spot called Italian Tailor proposed for the building. Whatever the restaurant becomes, we can be sure that our favorite server is no longer whipping up Caesar salads tableside. In January 2014, a few months after Davide was sold, Andrew moved from snowy Boston to sunny South Florida. He continued his former career as a waiter serving Mediterranean cuisine, taking a job at the Greek Joint Kitchen and Bar in Hollywood, Florida. After moving between various nightclub and event jobs over the next couple of years, Andrew showed his entrepreneurial spirit by branching out and investing in a renovation property. Yet hospitality is clearly his true love, as he now works as a VIP host for Encore Boston Harbor, an upscale casino and the official hotel of the New England Patriots football team. His time outside work is spent enjoying the beach lifestyle with his beautiful fiancée Amelia and his adorable puppy Harley, who has her own TikTok channel. Although that Toronto Maple Leafs toque isn't just fashion, it's a brave statement in Bruins territory. Talk about wearing your heart on your head. But what about the battling brothers? In October 2014, the former head chef adopted a new persona, Farmer Frank. After selling the restaurant, he turned his family property into Three Boys Farm, named in honor of his 3 sons. Inspired by wife Kim's work with special needs children, Frank created a program whereby 20 adults with additional needs would learn and work alongside him on the farm. But his head chef credentials still came in handy, as he served up delicious Italian dishes at an open house for educators and service providers. The perfect way to showcase his new enterprise. The newly named Farmer Frank supplied regular updates on the Three Boys Farm Facebook page. The last updates were in 2018, and it's unclear if the farm is still in operation. Frank's wife Kim also posts regular updates and family photos on her Facebook page. She appears to be a proud grandma and dog mama. As for Anthony, 1 month after Davide's closure, he began operating his own politically incorrect food tours in the North End area of Boston. His tour offered people the chance to explore Little Italy and experience growing up Italian without any of the BS, and all guided by an Italian foodie who was born and raised in the area. Anthony's 3-hour guided walking tour takes visitors to the hidden gems and unique local hangouts, as well as plenty of authentic Italian fare. In the neighborhood, everyone knows Anthony, the tour guide with a sense of humor. He has a running joke with a sign in a store window they pass on his tours. The sign teasingly reads, "Anthony, your tour guide is not a nice person." Each time they pass by, Anthony responds with a playful gesture. Anthony's customers frequently share pictures of their tour and their tour guide. The walkers are told to arrive hungry and ready to sample Anthony's favorite foods, from fresh deli-cut Italian subs to creamy espresso gelato, followed up with an optional cigarette. Anthony appears happy and healthy, and we even get a glimpse of his mother, who was seen dishing up steaming plates of pasta at the end of one of his walks, then sitting down to lunch with the group in her own home. It seems that Anthony has found his calling, with over 700 happy TripAdvisor reviews rating his tour a full 5 out of 5. It's not clear from the family updates whether the end of the Gesualdi brothers' working relationship has improved their personal relationship. A lack of group photos suggests that they may not be any closer. It's clear that Gordon's empathy for Frank's position and his support of Anthony's sobriety helped the brothers through a difficult time in their lives. I wish them all the best for a happy and healthy future.